why. Yes. One of these days, I'm gonna get this opening. I'm gonna get it down. I'm gonna know what I'm saying. It's gonna be the same every time. It's gonna be great. Today's not that day. So, we're gonna read chapters 18 through 20 in the book of 1 Samuel. And then we're gonna go into Psalms 83. We're very close to our mini goal of 100 days. That's kind of bright, so we're very close to our mini goal of 100 days. Actually, it's our main goal. Our main goal of 100 days. We'll have to modify our goal from there afterwards. Because I haven't set any, and I really don't know what the next goal should be after that. Yeah. Also, I wanted to see how much more progress I would have made getting this down in 100 days, and I don't really know. Yeah, let's not go there. So, we're just gonna read that. There's no devotional video today, nothing to add into the description. We'll just go straight into reading through Samuel and all of that. And then we can head off for the day and enjoy ourselves in the sunshine and bliss. Saul becomes jealous of David. After David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. From that day on, Saul kept David with him and wouldn't let him return home. And Jonathan made a solemn pact with David because he loved him as much as he loved himself. Jonathan sealed the pact by taking off his robe and giving it to David, together with his tunic, sword, bow and belt. Whatever Saul asked David to do, David did it successfully. So Saul made him a commander over the men of war, an appointment that was welcomed by the people and Saul's officers alike. When the victorious Israelite army was returning home after David had killed the Philistine, women from all over towns of Israel came to meet King Saul. They sang and danced for joy with tamarines and cymbals. This was their song: Saul has killed his 1,000 and David his 10,000. Ooh, okay. Yeah, that would make anybody angry. This made Saul very angry. What's this? He said. They credit David with 10,000 and me only with one. They credit David with 10,000s and me only thousands. Next they will make it. Sorry, it's foreshadowing. Next, they will be making him their king. So from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. The very next day, a tormenting spirit from God overwhelmed Saul, and he began to rave in his house like a madman. David was playing the harp as he did each day, but Saul had a spear in his hand, and he suddenly hurled it at David, intending to pin him to the wall, but David escaped him twice. Saul was then afraid of David, for the Lord was with David and had turned away from Saul. Finally, Saul sent him away and appointed him commander over 1,000 men, and David faithfully led his troops into battle. David continued to succeed in everything he did, for the Lord was with him. That's what I want. I want that description tagged on my tombstone. She succeeded in all that she did because the Lord was with her. I don't even care about the succeeded part. Because the Lord was with her. I want that on my tombstone. I just want it. I want it. Because the Lord was with her. So I gotta live up to that, like... Okay. When Saul recognized this, he became very afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David because he was so successful at leading his troops into battle. I still need to know why Israel and Judah are referred to separately, and since I didn't do the background research that I was telling myself I would do, I'm gonna take a moment to just really, maybe I can quickly do this now. Why Israel and Judah, difference between the two kingdoms. Because of Solomon's sin. Because of Solomon. The Great Divide dramatically affected the people of Israel and still affects them today. What was it? It was the Great Divide, which split the people into the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. So these get split. But I thought there was a split between Benjamin and Israel. And First Kings, we didn't read First Kings, okay. So Israel has been in rebellion against the house of David. Okay. The kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah. In that day, there was a great dispute in Israel, the nation chosen by God, about who was to become king. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, was their rightful heir to the throne and reigned after Solomon's death. Jeroboam was a servant who rebelled against Solomon. Okay, but why is it being referred to now? We haven't even reached that part of the story. I think the best call of action, because it seems like it's going to be an in-depth kind of research situation that I need to do, because I need to start by figuring out when the first time they referred to Israel and Judah separately was. And since I've brushed over it in the past, I noticed it, I noted it, but I didn't really look into it at that moment. I can't remember the first time it happened. And then I need to watch to figure out why they would start referring to them as separate kingdoms. And then I need to understand why Benjamin isn't referred to separately as a separate entity from Israel. So I've got some research I actually have to do, because now it's leading towards confusion going down the road. But anyway, the point right now is that David and Saul are in this turmoil of Saul being jealous of David and then trying to kill David. David's kind of becoming aware of this jealousy that Saul has pointed at him, and we'll watch how that unfolds. David marries Saul's daughter. One day Saul said to David, "I am ready to give you my daughter, Merab, as your wife." No, Merab. Merab as your wife. But first you must prove yourself to be a real warrior by fighting the Lord's battles. For Saul thought, "I'll send him out against the Philistines and let them kill him rather than doing it myself. Who am I, and what is my family in Israel that I should be the king's son-in-law?" David exclaimed. "My father's family is nothing." So when the time came for Saul to give his daughter Merab in marriage to David, he gave her instead to Adriel, a man from Meholah. I don't think that's in Israel. Is it in Israel though? Control. Yeah, it is. Keeps referring to the Book of Kings. Great. Great. So this is one of those things that we find out more about later, I guess. Okay. So, um, 1 Samuel 18:20. In the meantime, Saul's daughter Michal had fallen in love with David, and Saul was delighted when he heard about it. Here's another chance to see him killed by the Philistines. Saul said to himself, but to David he said, today you have a second chance to become my son-in-law. Then Saul told his men to stay. Then Saul told his men to say to David, the king really likes you, and so do we. Why don't you accept the king's offer and become his son-in-law? When Saul's men said these things to David, he replied, how can a poor man from a humble family afford the bride price for the daughter of a king? When Saul's men reported this back to the king, he told them, tell David that all I want for the bride price is 100 Philistine foreskins. Yeah. Can you imagine? Every man you slaughter. Like, snip off the foreskin and bring it back to the king. Vengeance on my enemies is all I really want. But what Saul had in mind was that David would be killed in the fight. David was delighted to accept the offer. Before the time limit expired, he and his men went out and killed 200 Philistines. Then David fulfilled the king's requirement by presenting all of the foreskins to him. He doubled it. Doubled. His requirement was 100. So Saul gave him his daughter Michal to David to be his wife. When Saul realized that the Lord was with David and how much his daughter Michal loved him, Saul became even more afraid of him, and he remained David's enemy for the rest of his life. Every time the commanders of the Philistines attacked, David was more successful against them than all the rest of Saul's officers. So David's name became very famous. Saul tries to kill David. Saul now urged his servants and his son Jonathan to assassinate David, but Jonathan, because of his strong affection for David, told him what his father was planning. Tomorrow morning, he warned him, you must find a hiding place out in the fields. I'll ask my father to go out there with me, and I'll talk to him about you. Then I'll tell you everything I can find out. The next morning, Jonathan spoke with his father about David, saying many good things about him. The king must not sin against his servant David, Jonathan said. He's never done anything to harm you. He has always helped you in any way he could. Have you forgotten about the time he risked his life to kill the Philistine giant and how the Lord brought a great victory to all of Israel as a result? You were certainly happy about it then. Why should you murder an innocent man like David? There is no reason for it at all. So Saul listened to Jonathan and vowed, as surely as the Lord lives, David will not be killed. Afterward, Jonathan called David and told him what had happened. Then he brought David to Saul, and David served in the court as before. War broke out again after that, and David led his troops against the Philistines. He attacked them with such fury that they all ran away. But one day when Saul was sitting at home with spear in hand, the tormenting spirit from the Lord suddenly came upon him again. As David played his harp, Saul hurled his spear at David, but David dodged out of the way, and leaving the spear stuck in the wall, he fled and escaped into the night. David's no fool, okay? Now this man has broke a vow he made. He doesn't fear the Lord's vows. He doesn't fear the vows he makes to the Lord. He's not going to fear coming after your life again. So David flees, which is fair. I think David's, he's acting right here. He didn't flee after the first time. He ain't no punk. And then he had Jonathan. They all made the vow. He's felt a little more safe, secure. But this is happening because of the tormenting spirit God sent. So clearly there's a bigger plan here, and getting God opened this position up for David to exist in that space so close to Saul, so that he can be positioned to work the miracles he needed to work. But now he's like, this is no longer your position. So he's using that same tormenting spirit to go after him. That's correct. Michael saves David's life. Then Saul sent troops to watch David's house. Who's Michael? Okay. They were told to kill David when he came out the next morning, but Michael, Michal, David's wife, warned him. This is also Saul's daughter. If you don't escape tonight, you will be dead by morning. So she helped him climb out through the window, and he fled and escaped. Then she took an idol and put it in his bed, covered with blankets, and put a cushion of goat's hair on its head. Why does she have an idol? This is David's wife. She took an idol and used it as a disguise, but why does she even have an idol to begin with? In Hebrew, it means T-E-R-A, teraphim. Small images or cult objects used as domestic deities or oracles by ancient Semitic people. Teraphim?
Teraphim.
Teraphim. Teraphim. I feel like it's teraphim. It would have an accent on it. And teraphim is very English. Teraphim. Teraphim. Anyway, yeah, why does she have that? Like, okay. So she uses this as a disguise. When the troops come to arrest David, she told them he was sick and he couldn't get out of bed. But Saul sent the troops back to get David. He ordered, "Bring him to me in his bed so I can kill him." But when they came to carry David out, they discovered that it was only an idol in the bed with a cushion of goat hair on its head. "Why have you betrayed me like this and let my enemy escape?" Saul demanded of Michal. "I had to," Michal replied. "He threatened to kill me if I didn't help him." So David escaped and went to Ramah to see Samuel, and he told him all that Saul had done to him. Then Samuel took David with him to the north to live at Naioth. When the report reached Saul that David was at Naioth in Ramah, he sent troops to capture him. But when they arrived and saw Samuel leading a group of prophets who were prophesying, the Spirit of God came upon Saul's men, and they also began to prophesy. When Saul heard what had happened, he sent other troops, but they too prophesied. The same thing happened the third time. So he's sending his troops in wave. The first ones, they get caught up in this prophesying of Saul, and then the second, he's like, all right, well, go get them too, and like he's sitting on his waist. And they get caught in prophesying because the Spirit of God is moving upon them heavenly, and then he does this again. All right, go get them, and that still happens. So we know this is a movement of God. It's repetitive. It's reoccurring. This is God's Spirit. Finally, Saul himself went to Ramah and arrived at the great wall in Seku. Where are Samuel and David? He demanded. They are at Naoth in Ramah, someone told him. But on the way to Naoth in Ramah, the Spirit of God came even upon Saul, and he too began to prophesy all the way to Naoth. He tore his clothes and lay naked on the ground all day and all night, prophesying in the presence of Samuel. The people who were watching exclaimed, "What, is even Saul a prophet?" That happened before. What, is even Saul now a prophet? Before he became king, he had this prophecy moment, and the crowd erupted and going, "What? Is even Saul a prophet now?" Jonathan helps David. David now fled from Naoth in Ramah and found Jonathan. "What have I done?" he exclaimed. "What is my crime? How have I offended your father that he is so determined to kill me?" "That's not true," Jonathan protests. "You're not going to die. He always tells me everything he's going to do, even the little things. I know my father wouldn't hide something like this from me. It just isn't so." Then David took an oath before Jonathan and said, "Your father knows perfectly well about our friendship." So he had said to himself, "I won't tell Jonathan. Why should I hurt him? But I swear to you that I am only a step away from death. I swear it by the Lord and by your very own soul. Tell me what I can do to help you," Jonathan exclaimed. "Tell me what I can do to help you." Yeah, okay. So Jonathan is like really loyal, right? Or at least to his friendship with David. David replied, "Tomorrow we will celebrate the New Moon Festival. I've always eaten with the king on this occasion, but tomorrow I'll hide in the field and stay there until the evening of the third day. If your father asks where I am, tell him I asked permission to go home to Bethlehem for an annual family sacrifice. If he says fine, you will know all is well. But if he is angry and loses his temper, you will know he is determined to kill me. Show me this loyalty as my sworn friend, for we made a solemn pact before the Lord. Or kill me after if I have sinned against your father." please don't betray me to him." "Never," Jonathan exclaimed. "You know that if I had the slightest notion my father was planning to kill you, I would tell you at once." Then David asked, "How would I know whether or not your father is angry?" "Come out to the field with me," Jonathan replied, and they went out there together. Then Jonathan told David, "I promise by the Lord of the God of Israel, that by this time tomorrow, or the next day at the latest, I will talk to my father and let you know at once how he feels about you. If he speaks favorably about you, I will let you know. But if he is angry and wants you killed, may the Lord strike me and even kill me if I don't warn you, so you can escape and live. May the Lord be with you as he used to be with my father, and may you treat me with the faithful love of the Lord as long as I live. But if I die, treat my family with this faithful love, even when the Lord destroys all your enemies from the face of the earth." So Jonathan made a solemn pact with David, saying, "May the Lord destroy all your enemies." And Jonathan made David reaffirm his vow of friendship again, for Jonathan loved David as he loved himself. Then Jonathan said, "Tomorrow we celebrate the new moon festival. You will be missed when your place at the table is empty. The day after tomorrow, toward evening, go to the place where you hid before, and wait there by the stone pile. I will come out and shoot 3 arrows to the side of the stone pile as though I were shooting at a target. Then I will send a boy to bring the arrows back. If you hear me tell him, 'They're on this side,' then you will know, as surely as the Lord lives, that all is well, and there is no trouble. But if I tell him, 'Go farther, the arrows are still ahead of you,' then it will mean that you must leave immediately, for the Lord is sending you away." That's what I meant about earlier when the Lord sent this troublesome, tormenting spirit to David. No, sorry, to Saul, and Saul was attacking David. He sent this troublesome spirit so David could be aware that his place was no longer beside Saul. His place had changed. That place was crafted for him, and now it's being moved. So, yeah. He's like, "Go, you know that this is the code, and if I have to say this, be aware that you must leave immediately, for the Lord is sending you away." It's just so, it's accurate. Let's highlight that and then note it. That's why. Okay. Now we're at 1 Samuel 20:23. "And may the Lord make us keep our promises to each other, for he has witnessed them." So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon festival began, the king sat down to eat. He sat at his usual place against the wall, with Jonathan sitting opposite him and Abner beside him, but David's place was empty. Saul didn't say anything about it that day, for he said to himself, something must have made David ceremonially unclean. But when David's place was empty again the next day, Saul asked Jonathan, "Why hasn't the son of Jesse been here for the meal either yesterday or today?" Jonathan replied, "David earnestly asked me if he could go to Bethlehem. He said, Bethlehem. He said, "Please let me go, for we are having a family sacrifice. My brothers demanded that I be there, so please let me get away to see my brothers. That's why he isn't here at the king's table." Saul boiled with rage at Jonathan. "You stupid son of a whore!" That's probably why he swore at him. "You don't think I don't know that you want him to be king in your place, shaming yourself and your mother? As long as that son of Jesse is alive, you'll never be king. Now go and get him so I can kill him." But why should he put but why should he be put to death? Jonathan asked his father. "What has he done?" Then Saul hurled his spear at Jonathan, intending to kill him. So at last Jonathan realized that his father was really determined to kill David. Jonathan left the table in fierce anger and refused to eat that second day of the festival, for he was crushed by his father's shameful behavior toward David. The next morning, as agreed, David went out into the field and took a young boy with him to gather his arrows. "Start running," he told the boy, "so you can find the arrows as I shoot them." So the boy ran, and Jonathan shot an arrow beyond him. When the boy had almost reached the arrow, Jonathan shouted, "The arrow is still ahead of you. Hurry, hurry, don't wait." So the boy quickly gathered up the arrows and ran back to his master. He, of course, suspected nothing. Only Jonathan and David understood the signal. Then Jonathan gave his bow and arrows to the boy and told him to take them back to town. As soon as the boy was gone, David came out from where he had been hiding near the stone pile. Then David bowed three times to Jonathan with his face to the ground. Both of them were in tears as they embraced each other and said goodbye, especially David. At last Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, for we have sworn loyalty to each other in the Lord's name, and the Lord is the witness of a bond between us and our children forever." Then David left, and Jonathan returned to the town. It's such a great, I'm sorry, I know the whole Saul David thing was an issue, but can we talk about the bromance between Jonathan and David? Because that if I was watching this unfold, I'd just be like, that level of loyalty, bro, the Saul part is fucked, but the bromance right there, the support, the loyalty, the fact that he didn't give in, he could stand up to his father, he kept supporting David, the code, the vows of friendship, the bond between him and the Lord. We just forget that level of friendship exists this day and age. We just do. When's the last time you made a vow of friendship before the Lord? Come on. When's the last time you did that? It's just so heartfelt. Sorry, I love me a good bromance story. Anyway, we're gonna go on to Psalms. See, it's not just bromance. I love me a good friendship story, because it's they always play in Hollywood where it's all right, who's about to betray who? The friendship bonds rarely are so solid unless it's one of those buddy cop situations. A psalm of Asaph. O God, do not be silent. Do not be deaf. Do not be quiet, O God. Don't you hear the uproar of your enemies? Don't you see that your arrogant enemies are rising up? They devise crafty schemes against your people. They conspire against your precious ones. Come, they say, let us wipe out Israel as a nation. We will destroy the very memory of its existence. Yes, this is their unanimous decision. They signed a treaty as allies against you. These Edomites and Ishmaelites, Moabites and Hagarites, Jebuelites and Ammonites, and the Amalekites, and the people of Philistia, and wow, all of them, and Tyre. Assyria has joined them too, and is allied with the descendants of Lot. Oh, this is Lot. This is Abraham's uncle, nephew, cousin, something like that. Do to them as you did to the Midianites, as you did to Sisera and Jabin at the Kishon River. They were destroyed at Endor, and their decaying corpses fertilized the soil. Let their mighty nobles die as Oreb and Zeb did. Let all their princes die like Zeba and Zalmunna. For they said, let us seize for our own use the pasture lands of God. O God, scatter them like tumbleweed, like chaff before the wind. As a fire burns a forest, and as a flame sets mountains ablaze, chase them with your fierce storm, terrify them with your tempest, utterly disgrace them until they submit to your name, O Lord. Let them be ashamed and terrified forever. Let them die in disgrace. Then they will learn that you alone are called the Lord, that you alone are the Most High, supreme over all the earth. Okay, guys. Day 83 down, and look at that. We're done. We're good. We did it. Yo. I just gotta celebrate because, like, I've never been this consistent with a thing. So, hey, we're gonna make it to day 100. I'm gonna be sure of that. I'm gonna stick to my guns. It's definitely gotten more ingrained in me, the habit formed. So, we'll just keep working on it and keep going. It's not perfect, but it's progressing. So, see you later. Bye bye.